Hello everyone, welcome to Conjunctions in Astrology. This time we're looking at the conjunction of the Moon and Venus in your horoscope. What does this mean for your destiny, including placement in sign and houses? If you're new to my channel, don't forget to sub below. If you find the videos good for you, give it a thumbs up. Let's begin. First thing is, do you actually have a conjunction of the Moon and Venus in your chart? You may think you do, but you may not have. A conjunction in the ancient Vedic system is about planets being in the same sign together, because a sign equals a house. So, if two or more planets are in the same sign, no matter how far apart they are by degree, they are in conjunction. But if one planet is 29 degrees of one sign, let's say, and the other planet at 0 of the next sign, that's not a conjunction, even though they are only 1 degree apart in space, because they are in different signs, therefore different houses, with a completely different lord. Another point to consider is the nakshatra. If planets are in a different nakshatra but in the same sign, are they still forming conjunction? Most definitely they are, because the nakshatra just gives them an internal experience, but they're still in the same sign, they're still sharing the experience of that house, and they are still in a conjunction. So if you have the Moon and Venus in the same sidereal sign, you have a conjunction of these two grahas. It's a very common conjunction. Once a month for about 2.5 days, the Moon will be in a conjunction to Venus Shukra. Let's look at the energies involved in this combination. So who is the Moon? The Moon is known as Chandra in the Vedic system. He is the most gentle of all the grahas. He represents the 4th house in our chart: mother, home, country, and society itself. He has a lot to do with our actual health and our longevity, definitely, because he controls the body that was created in the womb of the mother. He therefore controls the DNA program inherent in our physical being, by which we will burn our karmas in this life. He represents inclusivity, belonging, and happiness. He is the sustainer of this body, therefore he rules food which we eat and the air which we breathe. He also represents our mind, known as manas. This is created new with every incarnation, wiped clean, and it contains all of our flickering emotions, desires, but it is more difficult to control than the wind. And who is Venus? Venus is known as Shukra in the Vedic system. He is a demigod in charge of all the enjoyments and the luxuries of this material existence. He can give many skills, particularly artistry skills, music, singing, dancing, and he rules all of these factors in our life, things which make us relaxed and happy. Primary purpose is to bring human beings together, though, for one most important thing: reproduction. Yes, his number one job description is to actually ensure propagation of the species. And Venus can bring wealth as well, but it is about wealth for the extra luxuries of life, not for the basic necessities. So Venus and the Moon, two benefics, are getting together. Surely this is good. On the surface and in a material sense, there are beneficial factors here, but generally we have to understand that these two grahas are definitely not really friendly to each other. Simply put, the Moon is the tender love of the mother, the selfless love, the caring nature. Venus is the pleasure principle. I want what I want when I want it. It's all about me and my pleasure. It's not about anybody else. And this tension, therefore, between selfless care and selfish action is within you. You're always torn in two between serving others, helping others, protecting others, and your own pleasure, your own desire. It seems to be something which you cannot easily reconcile. Again, they are both Jala Tattva, water element. Now, this can create an overbalance in the water element in your chart. This can have health problems sometimes, or it can actually cause emotional imbalance, depending on the sign. And please remember, everyone, from the Vedic perspective, we have a special chart called Chandra Lagna. When Venus is with the Moon chart is especially influenced here, because Venus is in the 1st house of the chart with the Moon. It creates a high tide of emotion and feeling in your life, but how is it going to influence relationships? You must see the 7th sign away. So you've got Moon, Venus in Aries. Look at Libra in your chart. That 7th house from the Moon and Venus will show the partner. Say you have Moon, Venus in Taurus. See Scorpio. What's happening there in your horoscope? What's happening in Scorpio will influence your partner directly. So check out the video on my channel, Moon Chart, to understand a little bit more about these dynamics. I will link that for you in the description box below. See, everybody, moon is the mind, and the placement of Venus from the moon, and this affects everybody, even without moon-Venus conjunction. In everybody's chart, which house is Venus from the moon? That shows how your mind processes relationships, how you feel about love, romance, relating to others generally. Obviously, in your case, this relationship principle is very much on your mind, the moon. The moon Venus means that you need to be with other people, minimum. You need to be in society. You need to be mingling with other people, having stimulation of human company. It's very important to you. And obviously, relationships are a big part of this. Generally, then, you have very good social skills and you listen well unless there is big affliction to this conjunction to other people. You don't need to read that famous self-help book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. You might have heard about it. You don't need any of that. You are naturally courteous, naturally bringing people around to your side of things. People are always attracted to you. Generally, moon Venus gives a very cultured approach to social interaction. What do I mean by that? Well, you portray a kind, courteous, and polite demeanor. You will definitely treat other people with respect and expect that respect to come back to you. Generally, other people like you because you make them feel relaxed. Of course, when you have Saturn with this conjunction particularly, or aspecting this conjunction, there could be a little bit of reticence, but the skill, the sociable skill, the ability to influence others, to attract other people will definitely be there. And the moon, the mind, is very attuned to aesthetic sense of Venus, to beauty and to refinement. You're very attracted to well-turned out, well-dressed people. Doesn't matter how much money they've got. If they look good, if they present themselves well, you are attracted to them. If they do not, you are completely turned off, basically. And you yourself, male or female, looking good, looking well-dressed, well-turned out, looking basically beautiful. As much as you can accomplish that, you will want to do it. You could spend a lot of time, energy on your appearance with this aspect. And definitely moon Venus seek to make the home beautiful, the home comfortable and harmonious. This is very important to you. You can be actually physically sick in a dirty environment. This emphasis on cleanliness, purity is coming because moon and Venus are Jala Tattva, water element. Water is purifying. And this can be absolutely fine. But of course, when there is affliction, you will have OCD about this. You will get obsessive about cleaning. Germs frighten you. You have this need to be constantly cleansing everything, including, of course, yourself. Food ruled by the moon is a definite source of pleasure to you, Venus. You like fine food, eating out, all the best restaurants, sociable environment, all of that. Or you could even make money, some of you, from food in some way. This can be seen. But unfortunately, there can also be weight issues with this moon Venus. Moon Venus increases water retention in the body as well. So this can also cause health problems. When there's affliction, you can get quite lethargic even with this moon Venus. You want the easy life sometimes. You don't like to push yourself too hard. Physically, that is. You can be quite lazy sometimes. That's not everybody with this conjunction. One thing for sure, you need to have enough money in your life. Having money, having enough to get those extra luxuries of life is important to you. You want the good car, the good clothes, a beautiful home. It just makes you feel happier and more relaxed. And you need money for that social life, that's for sure. So moon Venus people generally put a big push on getting good resources. And funnily enough, women, females are often a source of money in your life. In a male chart, because Venus is the wife, sometimes these resources come to you through the wife. That can be seen. But generally, whether you are male or female, after marriage, after committed relationships, you tend to get more resources, more security in your life. Moon Venus can actually be helpful in any career whatsoever. In itself, it tends to make you happiest when you are working with others. Working on your own isn't very good for you generally when you have the Moon Venus. When you have that happy banter, happy conviviality of a work environment where you feel supported, where there is good friendship and basically just a relaxed atmosphere, you are happy. When there is competition, when there is harshness, when there is manipulation going on, you are completely turned off working in such a place. Public relations is a natural field when you have Moon Venus, but if either of these grahas should be Ascendant Lord or 10th House Lord, you could be artistic as well. Musical field, dramatic art, design, all of these things could be excellent with this conjunction. When it comes to relationships, Moon Venus is going to be quickly attracted to other people, and people are quickly attracted to you. You don't generally have problem finding romantic partners when you have this aspect. Problem is you become easily distracted from a relationship when there are disharmonious moments, when there are quarrels, distension. All relationships have this, but Moon Venus finds it difficult to tolerate. Because the moon is the mind, Venus is pleasure. When there are afflictions to this conjunction, there can be a great deal of dissatisfaction coming up quickly in relationships. And when that happens, your tendency, very afflicted that is to move on. You don't want to spend time, energy working at relationship. It's a little bit selfish sometimes, actually, this Moon Venus when it is very afflicted. So this aspect of Moon Venus, especially when afflicted, can tend to many short-term relationships, but with maturity, it tends to settle down. Getting some deep psychology now, but the moon is the mother, and the moon with Venus, there is some conflict there between the mother figure and yourself. You can have a very symbiotic relationship with the mother, whether you're male or female, very close bonded to the mother, and it can be difficult to find anybody who lives up to her, particularly in a male chart. This can be seen. And in female chart, there is conflict between your mothering tendency and your romantic tendency. Are you the mistress? Are you the mother? How can you be both? It's a conflict for women who have this Moon Venus in their chart. An afflicted Moon Venus can cause some health problems. I've already mentioned weight issues, water retention, but there can be urinary system problems, kidney issues also. Watch out for addictive tendency as well. The mind is addicted to the Venetian pleasures here when afflicted. So it could be any addiction. It could be drug addiction, drink addiction, food addiction, anything at all, even sex addiction. Moon Venus is a very addictive tendency. However, moon is society, moon is support, and the great blessing actually of this Moon-Venus conjunction is that there's always somebody to help you, lend a helping hand, bring you out of difficult situations. It's a very great blessing actually. Let's look at the sign placements, everybody. Now, when Venus and the moon are together in the fire signs, that means in Aries, Leo and Sagittarius, it's not a compatible situation, because the fire element, Agni, is at war with the water element, Moon and Venus Jala Tattva. There's a very passionate and even addictive tendency with this Moon-Venus fire signs. You want what you want. You are very focused on your desire nature, and there's a lot of changeability in your relationships generally. In all of these signs, minus perhaps Leo, there's a definite restlessness, a search for the ideal throughout life. So it can give many ups and downs for relationships, but tremendous creative energy. Venus and the moon together in all of these fire signs, you get artistic inspiration in any field whatsoever, particularly music, drama, acting, and anything where you are putting in deep emotion. Actually, in the earth signs, in Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, Jala Tattva excess is contained. That can be helpful because earth contains this water, this dramatic water element in this Moon-Venus conjunction. Definitely good in Taurus, the best placement here, because moon is in exaltation and Venus own sign. In fact, moon can be also taken to be a ruler of Taurus here. So this is very much at home. There are deep, steady emotions. There is a deep family atmosphere of conviviality, happiness, and security, unless there is affliction, but you will seek this out, definitely. It's good money sense, good business sense, and wealth can be shown by this Venus-Moon conjunction in Taurus. There's good business sense also in Virgo and Capricorn, but relationships aren't so smooth here because Virgo Venus is debilitated. There's an overcritical nature. There's a holding back of emotions, or there's just a a general feeling of not being understood by the spouse. Take things carefully, don't criticize spouse too much, be the helpful person who you naturally are. Smooths over many relationship issues. Moon, Venus in Virgo. The Moon and Venus in Capricorn, you're a little bit of a social climber sometimes. You want to be in the best circles of society, depending on the house placement, certainly. And you're not above sometimes, if it is afflicted, using other people. You have to think about this. You might not even think you are doing it, but how quickly can you move on if your needs are not served in relationship? Then you will know. But here's the thing. Moon, Venus, Capricorn, difficult sharing emotions, difficult talking about emotions, feelings, even to your partner. Try to loosen up a little bit. Don't be so rigid about it. Jupiter's aspect definitely helps. Now, in the air signs, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, it can be fairly good because the Vayu element, air element, dries up a little bit of this excess Jala Tattva. It's a more balanced situation. So a lot of social popularity can be here when you have Venus and the Moon in these earth signs. A very wide social circle, continually changing. Always new friends, always new networks, always making new connections all the way through your life, which can be helpful. It doesn't harm relationships either, especially Libra. You're a very convivial, cooperative person, and this will actually bring many relationship opportunities to you. Moon, Venus in Libra. It's good for friendships, but not so good relationships all the time when you have this Moon, Venus, Aquarius, and Gemini. According to the aspects, when relationships get tough for you, difficult for you, Moon, Venus, earth sign, you just detach yourself. Literally, mentally detach yourself from the relationship. Of course, this can cause many difficult moments and misunderstandings. Moon, Venus in water signs, you are highly sensitive, very kind, caring, generous person, but you are hypersensitive to other people with Moon, Venus in any of these signs: Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. Well aspected in Cancer, home life, family life can be convivial, can be happy, but there can be misunderstandings even with the mother if it is afflicted. Strong attachment to the mother is shown. In Scorpio, there's a lot of tension here because the Moon is debilitated, Venus is not happy. There is jealousy, there is manipulation, there is fear of showing emotion. There is a sort of barrier between you and other people. You must avoid secrecy. You must avoid manipulation in emotional situations because you have much strength to give emotionally and much support to give to other people. It's a divine blessing when you have Moon, Venus, Pisces. Pisces is, of course, where Venus is exalted. If the Moon is bright, that is strong, not just weak new moon. It has to be a definite bright moon for it to be at the best, that is. So, very convivial, sensitive, generous, caring person, but you are seeking the divine. It's the higher factors you are seeking. Therefore, mundane relationships don't always come up to the mark. You can be very picky, very perfectionist. No one seems to come up to your mark. You must have a deep spiritual affinity with your partner to be happy. In the 1, 4, 7, 10 house, it's always helpful to have benefics like Venus, Moon, especially together like this. Even though they may be troublesome by sign, they can help you in Mahadasha because they are Kendra. They will push your life forward. In the first house, what a convivial, sociable, and sometimes very popular person you can be. You can be very good looking, attractive, and have a very attractive personality. Afflicted though, you could have lazy moments when you just let things slip and opportunities are just let go. Something to be aware of. One of the best house positions, Moon, Venus, 4th house. Moon in own house, Cancer. Venus in Digbala. You will bring people into your home. It's a very sociable environment. You can have a beautiful home, wealth there. You can have happy family conviviality. It's a very good placement for overall happiness in life. Moon, Venus, 7th house. You go out of your way to serve others, help others, and you definitely attract helpful partners. At some point, you will attract a very helpful and caring partner. With afflictions, there can be many short-term relationships, or you are just in two minds about partner, spouse all the time. You can be moody in relationships yourself and unsettled. 10th house is a little bit tricky because it's hard to find that ideal work environment. One thing for sure, you do not work well alone. You work well when you are supported socially by your colleagues, a fantastic team player. But working with the public, working with people individually, counseling, helping, mentoring them, this is where you feel happiest. In the 2nd house, it's a very positive factor for wealth in your life. But two water planets in this house, wealth could simply run out of your hands, simply trickle away. If it is afflicted, you could be spending as much as you earn, and therefore wealth could become depleted. Check the chart carefully. Now to 3, 6, 11. These houses are increasing in beneficence over time, but Moon and Venus are not tough enough to push forward in these houses sometimes. 3rd house is Karaka Mars. It's a very argumentative, self-assertive ego house. Moon and Venus have some difficulty here. You're trying to be convivial, understanding, but arguments keep on coming up, especially with siblings. But well placed by sign, there could be a very special caring and deep connection with one sibling. Nevertheless, you are good at healing other people's problems, at helping other people, particularly 6th house, medicine, all of these things. You are very, very caring, very suited to these careers. 11th house, it's very positive for income. If it is an increasing moon, bright in light with Venus, excellent. You are always attracting new sources of income. 6th house, by the way, normally gives convivial workplace colleagues association. Same in the 11th house. You get on well with your network circles work-wise. Many good friendships are formed that can be lifelong. But if it is afflicted, you could have a lot of misunderstandings with your work colleagues continually happening. I've seen also 6th house and 11th house Moon Venus can give a attraction, a romantic interlude even in the workplace. In the Trachone, 5th and 9th, it's very fortunate to have Moon Venus in either the 5th or the 9th. It's good for your education, good for your convivial, happy learning environment. Many friendships are formed during learning experience. It's good for creative ability, literary ability, even writing ability, especially if Mercury gets involved. Moon Venus 5th house or the 9th house, especially male chart Moon Venus 5th house is especially good for daughters, and Moon Venus 9th house female chart. It doesn't mean that you're not going to have sons, but it shows a special bond with a daughter perhaps. Popularity with public definitely shown. Moon Venus 5th house, you could become famous by this aspect in creative field. Moon Venus 9th house, you get many help in foreign lands from people at distant shores and from the father. The two Dustana houses left over, 8 and 12. In the 8th house, there's a lot of secrecy in romance. There's a lot of keeping emotion to the self. There's a bit of a fearful factor. Relationship with the mother can be challenging. You're very intuitive about other people's emotion, though. You see through people like a book when you have Moon Venus in this 11th house. You can be a very good crisis worker, helping others maybe, but you have to go through many emotional up and down to find correct partner. The 12th house can be helpful because Venus is in the natural house of Pisces. Venus and the moon, 12th house, calms down the mind. It helps you become peaceful inside if it is not afflicted. Moon and Venus 12th house gives you protection. Protection from females. Sometimes females, women help you. And even though, yes, money may slip through your fingers, just like 2nd house, too much water in here, many expenses, you are divinely provided for. Very, very good for inner spiritual development. In itself, Moon Venus 12th house doesn't mean foreign residence or even foreign spouse, but you can have romantic interlude in foreign lands, definitely. You must have a deep bond with your spouse on a religious and spiritual factor. If you don't have that deep understanding with your spouse, you can feel isolated and misunderstood. Check the deep karmas of the moon and Venus by sign up on your screen right now. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to sub below. Goodbye for now. God bless everyone.